From the Oakland Hills to Jack London Square, from the port to the Coliseum, this is Talk of the Town, an in-depth conversation about the people and issues important to Oakland.
Hello, I'm Dave Clark. Welcome to Talk of the Town. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and it's a pleasure to talk about something that's really, really serious. It's been on my mind. It's something that's been in the news a lot lately. My guests, I have two guests here. Tracey Webb, a consultant. You run Tracey Elizabeth Webb Associates. You're an alum of Stanford University. And David Johnson, the president of Oakland's Merritt College. I'm glad you're both here. And I want to get right to it. We're talking about what's happening, the political climate in the country right now, and what is aimed at people of color within education, particularly the announcements by the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. Don't say anything. If you're a public school or university, you cannot hire, you cannot promote, you can't do anything related to race or risk losing federal funding. Right. That's in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. And I want to get, first of all, Tracey, your reaction to that.
Oh, Dave, this broke on our side, meaning the Stanford side, and I'm here as Tracey Elizabeth Webb Associates, but I have to say I've been a very active Stanford alum over the years. So my phone started blowing up at about 5 a.m. Monday morning, because that's when the Stanford Daily sent out the copy of the Dear Colleague letter. Right. It went wild, went very wide at that point. And I was crestfallen. I was absolutely crestfallen because this is something we never thought we'd have to fight. Mm-hmm. Our generation is adjacent to the civil rights struggle, right? Yeah. My parents were involved in all of that. We thought that we saw progress moving forward. This ripped everything back, almost to slavery times.
I agree. Mm-hmm. David?
Mind-blowing to a certain extent. Yeah. But it's one of those situations where you're shocked, but yet totally unsurprised. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of one of those situations. To kind of reference the Dear Colleagues letter, it's really, I think most fair-minded people would look at it as an attempt to essentially eviscerate all of the gains, progress that have been made over the last few decades toward racial progress. In California, at least, we already adhere to Prop 209. Yeah. So this seems to be an effort really to turn back the clock, so to speak. It does have everyone very concerned. Just on a national webinar yesterday, American Council for Education, and all of us are concerned. I mean, the threat of, even though the Dear Colleague letter, let's be very clear, doesn't carry the force of law. Yeah. It does represent the philosophical position of the administration. And with that, there's always this fear that federal funding could be withheld, even as they're working out the details, even as people push for injunctions or file lawsuits in order to preclude it from happening. In the meantime, our students, the people who are most vulnerable, are the ones that are going to suffer.
And that's why I wanted you two here. Now, me doing the stories on television, on the news, I often ask myself, is this real? Yeah. This is surreal. Like, this takes me back to the time when I was growing up. I thought all that was over. And I'm sure that's what we're all feeling right now.
Yeah, it's, I mean, just the idea that whether it's Black History Month or the celebration of Lunar New Year, because just to be very clear, it's anything that touches race is the position that the administration has taken, is anything that pertains to supporting or advocating or protecting anyone around any question of race. And so it seems almost ludicrous to say that you could not have a graduation for the Latinx community because it pertains to the Latinx community, even though anyone could come to that graduation, even though the idea of it being segregated activities, which the letter is actually quite offensive.
You agree, Tracey?
I absolutely agree. I think it's actually beyond offensive. It's maddening. It is infuriating, because if you read that letter, it's arbitrary and capricious. You do not give any entity, any major institution, any organization 14 days to comply with something that is not even a legal order.
Right.
And what the purpose is, as we know, to instill fear and chaos. And it's working to a point.
To a point.
And I will say to a point, because this is not the generation of 50 years ago. We are educated. We've always been educated, but en masse now, okay? We know our power, all right? And so what we are doing, and David, I'd be interested to hear if this is something you're experiencing.
Right.
People are congregating to figure out, to strategically address this. And those of us that are trained in strategy are looking at short-term and longitudinal strategy. And we're teaching the students how to strategically combat this.
Yeah, I would applaud, as president of Merritt College, we have had the opportunity to be in community with other community college leaders. I want to applaud our chancellor, Chancellor Tamil Gilkerson, for the Peralta District, and the state chancellor, Dr. Sonia Christian, and to essentially tell us to stay the course, that we're not going to abandon our students, we're not going to be dissuaded or intimidated by what is clearly an attempt to chill our efforts. So we're going to be moving forward. Again, the idea of 14 days that is, I think, essentially a scare tactic. So we're not going to be dissuaded from, as my grandmother would say, keeping our hand on the plow.
There you are. There you are.
I'm glad to hear the chancellor is saying, keep the course and all of that. I want to hear, what do you say to young people? What?
So,
and are they paying attention? Are they following each step of what is eking out of Washington, D.C.? But what do you say to them?
So, and again, I'm speaking as Tracey Webb, but I'm still I was immediate past president of the Stanford National Black Alumni. Still on the board. We had an emergency meeting Monday night of the board to discuss this. I am in that meeting and my cell phone starts pinging. The students at Stanford, the black students at Stanford, not everyone, but the have asked to have a fireside chat. They want to talk to alumni. They want us to help them. They are frightened. They need guidance. They need to know that we hold them, that we've got them, as you know, the young people say. And we do. So we are going to go to Stanford and have a fireside chat. And a number of people are coming. It is to let them express what they're feeling and to let them know that we hold them. And they are not alone, and we will help lead them on this fight. May I read a quote?
Yeah, please do.
I don't have my glasses, so I might have to hand it to you. This morning, 5:30, I get up, I'm pinged, and on our social media, one of the parents put this on because we're doing a survey. About what our membership thinks. Our children are there fighting this fight. We chose Stanford because of this network and the Black Cardinal family. Please help us, with a prayer emoji. That just pulled at my heartstrings. And it just emboldened me to get up and put on my suit and come in here and talk to you this morning.
I hear that. I'm glad you did. And David, I asked you about talking to students. Do you talk to families? What do you tell parents who also have a concern? What do you say to them?
Well, I'm fortunate enough, again, to be the president of Merritt College, and Merritt College has a different kind of standing in the community. We're the home of the Black Panthers, the first Black Studies department in the United States. It's Merritt College, so we're kind of the, I still see us as kind of the cultural locus of Oakland and the community. So essentially what I'm telling folks is, again, it's gonna be business as usual. We're not doing anything now that is illegal, that's unlawful. We've been following the law. All the people have been following the law. But at the same time, to be perfectly candid with you, we do have to pivot a bit. So, for example, we're trying to support our undocumented students. And so when you have a situation where we're trying to bring in legal assistance, or we're trying to meet with dreamers and students from mixed status families, we do have to be a bit strategic in terms of, because there is a lot of fear out there.
Yeah.
We had an event a couple of weeks ago, and I was very reluctant to send it out publicly. We're going to be here at this time at this place, for fear of a
ICE.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just the reality now.
Yeah.
So it's still keeping our eyes kind of on the prize, still pushing forward.
Good looking.
But head on a swivel.
Head on a swivel. That's the term.
Well, hold that thought. We want to talk more about that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. I'm glad you're with us. We'll be back right here on Talk of the Town. Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm Dave Clark. I'm your host, and I'm glad that you're here. I have two guests, David Johnson, president of Merritt College in Oakland, and Tracey Webb, a consultant, Tracey Elizabeth Webb Associates, and also an alum of Stanford University. And we're talking about what we're seeing the Trump administration do related to schools, public schools who receive federal funding, and how the crackdown, and I have to chuckle because, and that's not a happy chuckle.
Yes.
Because this disturbs me. You know, saying you can't do anything related to race, things that we've taken for granted for years, or risk losing federal funding if you're a public school or a public university. And I wanted to get your reaction. And David, I think of you have two of the most beautiful kids.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You do.
Thank you very much.
And when I think of the future, or where in the world are we headed, and thinking in terms of your kids, what goes through your mind?
Wow. Well, I take great comfort in knowing that despite the fact that things look fairly dark right now, we are a very resilient country. We are very resilient people. So I can't help but believe that people, good-hearted people, fair-minded people, people who may now see the ramifications of maybe the political support that they've given to certain administrations or certain people, maybe having a reality check. So I think we were talking a little earlier about, I'm looking forward to maybe the midterm elections to see if there's a referendum or repudiation of some of the policies. But in terms of my own children and my outlook, I'm a historian, or used to be a historian. I used to teach history classes. And so I look at it kind of in a historical standpoint. It is disappointing where we're at right now, but we are not. James Meredith was shot trying to go to Mississippi. So we're not there.
Right.
We're
That's
not.
hope.
We're not. We're not. As a former slave, I used to teach in my class, Henry Nix, who talks about being in Georgia in the 1850s and his uncle getting his finger cut off because he got caught with a book. So we're not there. But those type of stories, I think, fuel me and should encourage us and exhort us to continue, because we've come a very, very long way. And I'm just committed to we're not going back.
We're not going back.
No.
So how do you respond, Tracey?
We are undeterred. We are undeterred. The thing that I was thinking about this on the way over here that disturbs me more than anything is that students of color are being asked not to be their authentic selves. They are being shut down and basically marginalized, absolutely marginalized. You can't. I do a lot of work with executive coach on authentic leadership. You're most powerful when you bring your authentic self to the table. Corporate results, organizational results increase dramatically when people feel that they can be who they are. They can be most creative. How are 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds supposed to develop who they are as a person if they're being removed from their very essence and told that essence doesn't matter and doesn't count? I will tell you that I went to Stanford because of what we used to call Black Recruitment and Orientation Weekend or something. Came down. Now this gentleman, this doctor here went to Cal, so we're trying to maintain a degree of civility. Okay,
be nice, children.
We're kind of arm wrestling in the green room,
no,
but seriously, I went because, you know, was lucky enough to be accepted to a number of schools. But when I went to that weekend and saw people that looked like me, that thought like me, that created a home for me with the Black House on campus and whatnot, that's why I went. And many people will tell you that's why they went. I had the pleasure of handing out diplomas at Black graduation. And when I went, it was in the student union, you know, in one of the meeting rooms, because that was 400 years ago when the dinosaurs walked the earth.
I didn't say that, Tracey.
I embraced my age. But this year it was in Memorial Auditorium, filled to the rafters. Filled to, and it's open to anyone. Anyone they submit their name, we will hand them their, this is a double ceremony, but hand them their diploma. So you can't, the students are feeling very wounded for nothing, they haven't done anything wrong other than show up in their own skin.
And it happened on a dime, it feels like. I mean, we knew
this was
certain attitudes existed along the way after the campaign. We knew all that, but then it happened. That's hit hard. And Tracey, I want to ask you, as a woman, thinking about young ladies who are facing an unknown prospect right now, what do you say to them specifically?
As you know, I have a 34-year-old daughter. One child. And she was already traumatized going through COVID, right? You know, that was something it was very difficult for them to navigate that because they're so connected, you know, Norman. So she called me, and when she's really distressed, she calls me mommy. Which I love. Okay, but
you love it.
But I knew it was a signal.
Your ears
she
perk
called.
up.
She said, "Mom," and I said, "Honey," she lives in LA, and I said, "What is it?" And she said, "What is going on?" My mother grew up in Louisiana. They left because of racism, because my grandfather was college educated and the Klan couldn't handle that, so they came here. And my mother and uncle, who was a presiding law judge before he died out here, and my mother all but the last chapter of her dissertation. They achieved, but they made sure they knew the struggle, that we knew the struggles they went through. Okay? And so I reminded her of that, of those conversations she had with her uncle, her great uncle, and my mother. Okay? And she said, "You're right, Mommy. We will fight this, and we will stick together." And I said, the most important thing is to tend to your mental health. Self-care. Because this will keep you, as we were saying earlier, your head on a swivel. That is not healthy. We take control of the narrative.
David, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of different things. I think it's very important to keep in mind that we're very far removed, but we're not so far removed in terms of history and in terms of, especially as it relates to Black folks and education. Ruby Bridges, who hopefully we all should know, Ruby Bridges is 70 years old. That's not
it's not
that long ago.
Right.
No. I tell a story to some of my students. So my grandmother, when she got up in age, we had the opportunity, the people in the family, to go check on her, to go tend to her. She lived in the city. And so Wednesday night was my night, so I'd go talk to her, and she would say, you know, she'd be talking and say, you know, I used to know people who used to be slaves. And I was like, you know, Granny.
Sure, Granny.
You're not,
okay.
I called her Doll. It's like, Doll, but then I started doing the math, and because she was, no, Miss Thomas that went to Ebenezer Baptist Church. My grandmother was from Austin, Texas, and Mr. Green who lived down the street, and I started doing the math.
Wow.
Slavery ended in 1865, right? So we're not going to say 1865. Let's just say 1850. Someone was born. My grandmother was born in 1911, so when she was 20, that's 1931. Someone born in 1850 would have been 80. We all know a bunch of 81-year-olds.
Yes, we do.
Right.
So my grandmother knew people who were owned by other people and lived long enough to vote for Barack Obama.
Let me
in the
stop.
same lifetime.
Let me pause you right there because we have to take another quick break. But this is a fascinating part of our history that I want to bring out. So we'll take another quick break. We'll be right back, and make sure you come back here on Talk of the Town.
Through interviews with the stand. Excellent.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Dave Clark, and I'm so happy to be here with David Johnson and Tracey Webb. And we were talking off the air. You were telling how you're also studying in relation to all of this, European resistance and why, and what are you finding out?
So when Project 2025 was first published, right? I was one of the nerds that downloaded the whole thing and read through it. And, you know, this was telegraphed. They said they were going to, it was a playbook. This is no surprise. What's surprising is how far they're pushing it and how fast they're pushing it. But I thought, you know, we have to have a different strategy to deal with this because the courts will do what they can. But we know what how the Supreme Court is stacked at this point, and some of the federal courts. So I started researching the European resistance. And what I did was I looked at the Polish resistance, the French resistance, you know, et cetera. And what I'm learning, it just reinforced for me the importance of not telegraphing your every move, okay? Not telegraphing your every move, and having a network of people who know how to keep their mouth shut, okay, as you are planning your strategy, your legal strategy, of course, but how you are planning it. I've talked to actually clients of mine when I've done some diversity work. I was at a city recently, and one of my clients who is Polish, who lived through martial law there, said, Tracey, I've been through this. I want you to be frightened of what's happening. I want you to start mobilizing and figure out what you can do to counter this. Because it's fine to have different political parties and different ideologies, but this is beyond that. This is moving into control of the entire country, control of thought processes, control of what we read, we think, we do. It will not stand. I also believe that the Constitution is strong enough, if we use it properly, to withstand these attacks.
Yes.
David, you're shaking your head.
Absolutely. I mean, I think to me, the central question in American history has always been the extent to which all people are going to be able to share in the rights, responsibilities, opportunities, and protections of a democratic society. That's the central. And I think even though it's taken, we've taken some turns, it hasn't always been linear. There have been setbacks.
Right.
And, I do believe in my heart that, again, that as a people, as a country, the Constitution, you know, what did Barbara Jordan say? That my belief in the Constitution is complete, it's absolute. I do believe that we have the tools at hand to kind of counteract some of the things that are happening. I think that we have to be strategic. I think that we have to be fearless in some of the tactics. And I don't mean that literally, but there's a great line in the movie Cabin in the Sky where Ethel Waters says, sometimes when you're wrestling with the devil, you got to be willing to poke him with his own pitchfork.
Get that fork.
There you go.
Absolutely, great quote.
I want to ask you about the people and the groups that now have buyer's remorse. They rallied and voted for the current administration. And now they're saying, whoa, we didn't know it was going to be like this. We voted for Donald Trump and him. And now there are Republicans who are saying, farmers who are saying, Latinos who are saying, wait a minute, what did we do? Muslims who are saying in Dearborn, Michigan. Have you heard any of that? And what's your reaction to those comments of, whoa, what did we do?
Right.
You want to go first?
Well, I'll just say, I think that there is an inclination for those who, for people who did not, there's an inclination on the part of some to say, told you so. And I think that's not really productive at this point. I think that what would be more effective is to engage and partner with those individuals, rally around the things, the common interests and common goals, because I would never disparage someone for their political, but the things that make us, the things that bind us together, the things that speak to our humanity, the things that push the common interest and push the collective forward, to rally around those things and try to engage and partner to come up with coalitions to start to push back against some of these initiatives.
Yeah, we're winding down, and this isn't enough time, but I'm so glad you're here. I greatly appreciate and admire you both, David Johnson, Tracey Webb, because of your intellect and because you're involved with so many great things, and I can depend on your comments. And I thank you for taking time to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad that you were with us as well. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time, right here on Talk of the Town.